So how, like, when did you?
Hang on.
All right.
So normally you went all fan guy on him.
I did. Look at me fanboying out on you here, Lou.
Normally you introduce what we do for the intro and stuff. So okay, come back.
All right.
And do your thing.
Let's do that again.
So yeah, let's take it from the top. So
hey, it's Lew Harrison from Prince Albert's new 1015 Beach Radio, and you're watching episode 67 of the Sit Down Podcast.
Hey, I'm Mark.
I'm Joel.
These episodes of the Sit Down Podcast are brought to you by Funky Moose Records.
Subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment below, and ring the bell because it really helps us out, you guys.
And check out funkymooserecords.ca for all your used and new records, and accessories.
And merch. Perfect.
You could be a radio announcer.
Yeah. I think that was is that the first time that was like on the first take?
Maybe not on the first take, but as professional as this, yeah, probably.
That was the most professional we've seen it for sure.
Because we try to get bands to do that, and they always forget to either say the name of the podcast or the episode or who they are, and they just ramble on with whatever they have to say, and then yeah, right, we were doing an intro. Sorry, let's try that again.
Well, for bands, if it's not written on the back of their guitar or on the monitor, they don't know where they're at most times.
That's right.
Yeah. Man. So yeah, okay. We'll just dive right into it, right? We're just hanging out. So welcome. Thank you, Lou, for joining us tonight. Like, we're very honored.
Thanks for the invite. I've never been on a podcast. This is like, you always remember your first time, and it's with you guys, and I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, we'll see on Monday.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the views go on Monday. Yeah, this is probably going to be a little different than what you're used to for sure. So I don't know if things have changed in the last 20 years. I'm sure they have a little bit, but I remember being in your booth and a lot of stuff was like, I remember you having like your day pretty much done within a couple hours. You just basically had to make sure that there were no glitches in the system. Like like I remember, correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm speaking out of pocket here. But
you're wrong.
I remember you like having stuff recorded and it was like all queued up and lined up. And then it would just be like a matter of making sure that everything syncs up as it's supposed to. Am I wrong?
Well, the technology has come a long way since then, but yeah, some of the show is live, and then other parts are recorded. Like my morning show is live, but sometimes, like back then, there would have been other parts of the day that I had to record, and even for other stations, because that happens now too. Yeah, so the technology's gotten better, so we don't have to go and make sure that it's all going to flow, because it just does now.
Nice,
right? So your show,
it's weird.
you start at what, 6 o'clock in the morning? No.
Yeah, I'm at work at 5 and on the air at 6.
And then till 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So
every
4
hours.
What do you do when you're not on air then? Because I assume your job is still 8 hours a day.
Yeah, I leave around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's see, so do the show till 10. I take care of editing the music logs, which is the part you probably would have got the most bored with when you were a job shadow. One day watching somebody edit music logs.
That could have very well been what that was.
What are music logs?
Yeah. Okay, so every single day, every single hour of every single day has it's called a music clock, and the computer's programmed to put the songs in certain orders in the clock because there's a lot of science behind it. I don't profess to know the science because I'm not the one that programmed the computer. I'm just the one that says go on the computer and it does its thing. And then I make sure it all fits for time, and I put in the proper imaging and things like that. Imaging would be the things that you hear that says like, it's an oh wow Wednesday. And then we play a certain song from a certain category. And so we got to make sure those are all put in properly, or it's a whatever long weekend. And so to make sure that the flow is right, that it fits the hour, and each hour has to add up to 60 minutes, no more, no less, and keep on trucking.
So I
24 hours a day.
used to work at a radio station back home, and that was all volunteer. It was a very small radio station, and the show I did, we sat down, we opened up the music computer, and what are we playing next? And then just whatever we felt like playing. So there was no, I mean, the format was there. We had our sections that we would do in our segments we would do in the show, but the music was always kind of on the spot. Okay, I'm going to play this one next, and after that it's this one. But further than that, we didn't plan anything. I assume that's different for you.
So, okay, well, did you have like time restraints? Like did you have to be like,
yeah,
this segment needed to be done within 60 minutes, like on the hour kind of thing?
Well, we had the news syndicated from a national station, so we had to be done at 58 minutes and 32 seconds or something, because that's when the news started, and we had to make sure that everything was cleared before that time. Other than that, the whole hour was just empty and clear for us.
No, what most people don't realize is the DJs have no control of their music. They haven't for decades, really. The stuff you see in the movies and whatnot, that's all a myth. Same like any other job. You go there and your boss says, do this, and that's what you do, and you play these particular songs. Can we take requests? Sure, we could take requests. If there's room to fit in the hour, because maybe we're early, we have to add a song, then we get a choice, and you phoned in and you said, I want to hear whatever, and it fits, that's when you probably get a chance to hear it. But other than that, we don't get a say over the music. I get grief about that a lot. Why are you playing this and why are you playing that? It's my job.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I do.
Just speak the truth,
I don't want to badmouth Beach Radio, because I like, especially your show in the morning when I drive to work. That's what I listen to. In the afternoons when I drive back, not so much. But anyway, I notice a lot of songs are repeated at the same time. So, for example, right before 8 o'clock, I hear a lot of Pearl Jam, like well, one of the Pearl Jam songs. I don't remember which one now, but it's usually about 5 to 8. That's when a Pearl Jam song comes on. So I don't know.
And see, that's out of our control, because that's when that song is scheduled to come on. We just play it as it comes out. It's sent to us in advance.
And it's probably because that song is a certain length.
It's because it's a certain length. It's a certain era, because that would be like a 90s particular era. So it's the clock that I said is calling for a 90s song at that time, because it'll say, oh, play 80s, early 80s, play mid 80s, play a 90s, play a late 80s, play a 70s. And it just all plots like that. And it's, like I said, there's a lot of science that goes into it. I don't profess to know the science.
Yeah.
But that's a higher pay grade than me. So don't blame the DJs. We're just doing our job.
Is it also that you have to play a certain amount of Canadian music? Is that still a thing?
That is the law. The biggest thing that I do for work every day is to make sure that we play the right amount of Canadian in a day. So when I'm done with my log editing, it's at least 36.5% Canadian.
Oh wow!
By law.
36.5.
Yep. 35 is the actual law, but the company wants to have a little bit more just in case, to err on the side of caution in case something happens, and always a little safeguard. So 36.5 is the minimum where I can leave it.
Is that on like
a 37 sometimes?
Is that a daily or weekly?
It's a daily and weekly. There's rules that say you have to play that between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. and midnight. So basically, all day you have to have it configured. And that's Monday through Friday. And Saturdays, the rules are different, but your weekly total from Sunday to Sunday must equal the 35%. So,
that's interesting. I never knew that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know where I got that.
And that's the biggest thing in radio. Never mind the music or the stuff we talk about or anything else. If we don't hit that spells heavy danger for the radio station with the CRTC.
Right.
So
interesting.
That's why you hear a lot of Alanis Morissette and Bryan Adams
and Nickelback.
That's right.
Not Nickelback.
Yeah, there's some.
I'll be honest. I don't listen to the beach radio. Like, I'm just in my own little bubble. Actually, since this show started, it's so Mark used to always laugh at me because I was like stuck in 90s rock, right? So like, you know, Metallica, Godsmack, Nickelback, all that kind of stuff was like my favorite. And when the show started, you know, it's opened my eyes to like indie music. And there's so many bands and musicians out there that like, that's all I freaking listen to now. Like the crap that the music that I'm listening to now which isn't crap, but the music I'm listening to now, like I'm not going to hear that on the radio. And I have no interest in the radio right now because it's not playing what I'm interested in, you know? That's all.
Well, the radio is a handy thing. People say, "Oh, radio's dying," and I don't believe that, because they say, "Oh, there's all these different choices. There's Spotify and YouTube and all these other ways to get your music." When we were younger, there was other ways to be listening to your music too. Like you were stuck in the 90s, you probably had your CD Walkman, and all you had in there was Godsmack or whatever, right? Yep. You didn't listen to the radio much. But then you got older and life gets in the way. You haven't got time to be making playlists, and you haven't got time to be searching out the new, latest, greatest stuff because you got to get the kids ready for school and you got to get to work and things like that. The radio is always there. It's always on and it's always free. We make the playlist. Maybe you don't agree with it sometimes, but it's songs that you know, songs that you like. It's familiar stuff and it fills that need. And especially as you get older, like I said, you don't have the time. But when you do have the time, yeah, you go and search out your own musical tastes and you'll delve into that for a while, but you'll always come back to radio.
Right.
Yeah. So the only thing I'm a little disappointed, it's not really disappointing because I do like the music that Beach Radio plays, but let's call it disappointed. What I was disappointed with is that it's stuck in that, what is it, 70s and 80s and 90s?
It's the core is 80s and 80s, 90s, but mostly 80s. There's some fringe 70s stuff and some fringe 2000s stuff that plays as well.
Yeah. And to me, the disappointment came where, you know, we wouldn't hear the new songs. Like, for example, you played Weapons from Saskatoon before you switched to Beach Radio. That was cool to hear. You know, it's like, oh, it's Weapons. I know those guys. They're from Saskatoon. That's cool. And the girls from PA.
Wolf.
The Wolf.
The Wolf.
Not that I'm a super fan of their music, but it's cool to have, you know, a local band on the local radio.
Right.
So I was kind of disappointed that went away with Beach Radio, but I mean, music is still good, even though it's.
Well, here's something a lot of people aren't aware of either. Radio is a business.
Yeah.
Radio, yeah, they're in the business of making money like any other business, and people forget that all the time because radio to them is free, right? Mm-hmm. Radio makes its money through advertising, and you got to go with whatever is the best of that particular time. Like previously with XFM, that was, you know, rock was everything. Studies have shown that rock music has dropped off quite considerably now, and the company wants to make sure that they're giving only the best platforms on their radio stations. So the 80s, 90s format is actually one of the hottest charting formats in North America right now in terms of listenership, when listenership equals dollars.
Yep. Right.
So that's why.
It's simple business.
Yeah.
It's a business. Yeah. They're in the business of being in business. And it just so happens that they play music for free on the radio.
I like that look that you just gave me too when you were like, it's simple business and you're just glaring at me. I'm always bashing heads with Mark on like what I want to do and what we can do, right? Obviously.
Joel is a dreamer, and
I'm
I'm more of the business side of things.
But you got to have dreamers, and then you have the business people to take those dreams and make them happen. Maybe it's not quite the same, but you know, you find a common ground, and that's how things move forward, right?
Right,
yep.
For sure. Yeah, we've definitely, like how I was saying before, how the show has evolved. Like we got some big stuff happening this year. Like we just booked, like, I'm not going to say who on air, but I'll tell you off air, but we just booked like 2 like relatively big bands to come on the show this year. So we're pretty fired up and excited about that. And, you know, some on location stuff that's going to be new to us that we're excited to do. And yeah, like it's something we'd never thought we'd be doing at all. It's just kind of, we're taking it 1 week at a time, and every week there's some kind of hiccup and we just kind of power through it and just keep doing it. Right. The persistency and yeah, I'm so excited about it.
Oh, where would the world be without people that that just wanted to sit around and follow the rules? You know, you got to be innovative. So good for you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily innovative, but for us it is. Like when we started
for your podcast.
What's that?
Yeah.
For your podcast, it's innovative.
Yeah. So when we started the podcast, it was really Joel and I sitting on the couch and open up our laptops, see what happened in the week past in the music industry, and we would just comment on it. But that went to a point where we would just read the headline and just assume the article was about
because we do like zero research, right? It was like 15 minutes before we started recording, we're like flipping through Google, like, what's going on?
And then
that's the best thing about podcasts, man. You can make it up as you go along.
Yeah. And then we started giving our opinions, and then it was like, maybe we should read the article. Yeah. Because this doesn't sound right.
That just sounds like good business.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there was an artist that reached out to us and she wanted to be on the show, and we were like, sure.
That was our first sign that somebody's actually listening.
Yeah. So then we had to figure all that out, and it's been a learning experience since.
Yeah, it's definitely been fun, man. And met awesome musicians throughout the course of it. Like some stuff that we can't say on air, but there's been some funny shit that's happened, to say the least, for sure. I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that's happened to you too in your career, right? Like, how excited? Wait, let me ask you this: who was the first like big musician that you got to meet because of being in radio?
Lew Harrison. She played deputies in PA. I just started here in PA, so I'd been in radio 6 months by the time I moved to PA, 3 months by the time I moved to PA, something like that. And then 3 months after that, Lew Harrison plays in PA. Well, growing up in the 80s, every guy had a crush on Lew Harrison. She's the metal queen, right? So you're just like, yeah, right on. So got to meet her, was blown away that she was only like 5'0" nothing. She looked so much bigger in the videos. Then, of course, hey, come on back. We're going to party later. And so everybody from the radio station goes over to the hotel room and parties. And you're like, this is cool. Like, even if it's a Canadian level celebrity, it's still pretty cool to be partying with somebody who just did a concert, even if they're just playing a bar. It's kind of neat to be able to be in that inner circle and see what goes on and find out they're actually pretty cool, down to earth, real people.
Yeah. That's the funny thing. Celebrities are just people like you and me. They just have a certain level of, or a certain amount of people knowing them, I guess.
Well, I met Shania Twain once backstage when she came to Saskatoon the first time, and I couldn't even talk because I was just like, she was a babe, and you're just like, oh my God, she's real. She's standing here in front of me. She's like, hi, how are you guys? And I'm like, yeah. So it was a real highlight of my life. Looking back, yeah. So after that, I got it in my head. I'm like, okay, I gotta not do that. So even after meeting celebrities after that, I always stuck it in my head. They're normal people. They're real people, just like me and you. They just happen to have a really cool job. So they probably want to be talked to like a normal person. And I found that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Biff Naked was one of the most nicest people I've ever met.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just real chill. And yeah, hey, come on in. We're just watching the game on TV before we go out on stage. You want some pizza? You want, like, she's just like, welcome to my home kind of thing in the green room at the Rawlinson. And you're like, okay, sure. That's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like is she not touring right now with Buck Cherry? Do you know?
Touring? Now?
Well, I think they're doing some shows. Yeah. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I know
they would be virtual shows, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that a little deeper, but
There is.
She's on the radio in Vancouver, apparently. Like she's a morning co-host.
Oh, really?
for real?
Yeah.
Oh.
I
From
did
what
not
I
know that.
understand, yeah.
Well, don't you know?
Gotta fill
everybody
time
in radio?
somehow. Same as Kim Mitchell. He's an afternoon drive guy on Q107 in Toronto.
What?
That's freaking
So there is a career after being a musician.
do radio. Well,
Yeah.
so does
You go from
what's his
being a
name?
musician, starving musician, to starving radio announcer. That makes a lot of sense. It's a lateral move.
Doesn't like Randy Bachman, doesn't he have a radio show in, would he be out of Winnipeg? I think. I thought I heard him on the radio the other day.
He does. I think it's on CBC, but it's wrapping up here, I believe. Like it's coming to an end.
Oh,
Oh man, I would love to have him on the show. That'd be cool, frick.
yeah. We've been trying, but I think we're trying the wrong
Yeah, I'm
channels.
definitely trying the wrong way. I'm like tagging him in Instagram posts and stuff, inviting him that way.
I met him when he came through PA. Was not one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Oh,
No.
really?
Yeah, like I was kind of like, hey, this is cool. Like he's Canadian legend. He was not interested in meeting people. Like, and I was emceeing his show, so I tried to introduce myself. Hey, I'm Lew from the radio station.
Right.
Let's go over what you want me to say when I go out on stage. And he was like, could give a shit.
Right.
Really?
Honestly.
I that actually doesn't surprise me at all. That really doesn't.
It actually kind of surprised me too, because I thought maybe he would be more down to earth, because I met a lot of Canadian artists and they're really chill because I think they're Canadian and that's why. But he had a pretty good opinion of himself that day.
Interesting.
Well, Joel and I, when Chesterfest was happening, Joel and I had the honor of driving a Harlequin back to the
To their
hotel.
hotel that night.
So when Joel and I were waiting with the van for them to come to the van and we could bring him, we kind of looked at him from a little bit of a distance, and I don't know, I got the vibe that they're a little bit of divas, because they had their own little tent, or they didn't have a tent, but they made Joel Rose, the organizer, go fetch a tent so they could have their own private area, and that rubbed me the wrong way.
And they didn't, it was like they didn't want to not associate with us, but almost they didn't want anything to do with, like, we were their chauffeurs and that was it. Right? Like, we're just the guys driving them back and they don't even want to talk to us. It's like, holy crap, man.
I had a decent conversation with the lead singer.
Like, they weren't like, I may be making that sound.
But
that
the
they were
lead singer is the
worse,
only
but they are.
original guy left in that band.
Yeah. But I mean,
So maybe just the other guys, they're, because they're still up and coming rockers. Maybe that's why the attitude.
Oh, maybe.
they're not
Sorry to
that
cut you off.
coming anymore.
Yeah. They're not young, that's for
No.
sure. But I mean, that could have been it. And it's not like, I mean, they didn't say anything rude or they weren't like assholes. They just weren't.
Well,
weren't,
I mean,
like,
if you figure
I
how
don't know.
many people they talk to, and it's like, well, we're never going to see these kids again, so whatever.
True. And
But
I
you know
mean,
what? That shouldn't matter. That shouldn't matter, and that pisses me off because, okay, well, Lew's on the radio. I'm just a regular dude, but to some people, celebrity, right?
Yeah.
You got to talk to the people. You got to talk to them. They're like my listeners. They want to come talk to me. I'm gonna have a chat with them because they want to talk. I'll go out for supper with my wife or whatever, well, when we could before COVID,
right.
And people come up, hey Lew, how's it going? And they want to talk about something they heard on the show that day, that week, last month, something that's stuck in their head.
Yeah.
And I'll chat with them because it was important to them. They're the reason why I have a job. And so I think these artists that are dicks to their fans, they're doing a disservice to themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
definitely
agree.
I agree. For sure. Did you find it hard being the local celebrity?
Being the local celebrity.
Yeah, because we only have one. That's Lew.
You know what? I told my friends if I ever get an ego, kick me in the junk because I don't want to be that guy. So I'm just Lew on the radio. I have a cool job. I get to go play with cool toys and have fun every day. And it just kind of worked out really cool. And I'm just happy that people come along for the ride. So I don't look at myself as a celebrity per se.
Well, maybe celebrity is the wrong word, but a lot of people know you.
Well, it would be local celebrity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you did your on location, of course, now you don't do on location, although you did one last week.
Just last week, yeah.
Yeah.
Or a week before.
What was that?
Yeah.
What was that one?
I was at Toyota.
Right. Yeah, I just heard today that they closed their body shop and now it's Prince Albert Toyota and not Frank Dunn anymore. And it's like, what's going on? Anyway.
Times are changing.
Yeah, I guess. But so when you were on location, did you get that vibe from people that, you know, they're kind of in the corner whispering like, oh, that's Lew. I don't want to talk to him.
I don't think that happens so much anymore because I've been out a lot. I think I've met all those people by now and we've already chatted. But there was a lot of that when we first started getting out more. And that's the thing, like you can only get out as much as opportunity presents itself. I can't just go, I'm going to go out and be here. There has to be some sort of event or wherever that you can be. And when it was like Mix 101 and we started the Rock Machine, that really allowed me to get out and meet a lot of people. So they got to come up and actually chit chat, and lots of people hang out for 20 minutes, half an hour, and just shoot the breeze with me. And then the car giveaways continued. Actually, Beach is giving away one this year. Can't tell you what it is yet though. So we'll be out on location again, and people can come and shoot the breeze.
Cool.
Right on.
I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll swing by. We'll come shoot the breeze with you.
I don't really
For
need
sure.
a car because whatever the car is going to be a nice one. And with our shitty, I don't know if you saw the picture on your Facebook because you put a picture of your truck, how dirty it was.
Yep.
And
After a trip on the muddy road the other day.
Yeah, and this morning on my way to work.
Your car is supposed to be black or something like that.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
a gray color.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want the Rock Machine because that'll just mess it up.
Well, it won't be called the Rock Machine anymore. We got to remember to change that. I can't tell you anymore, but you heard it here first on your podcast. How's that?
Nice.
Oh.
Nice. Yeah, we'll come swing. We'll come shoot the breeze with you and see if we can bump up our views on our podcast.
Sure. Take selfies from a social distance, of course, right?
Yeah,
of
bring
course.
a handful of stickers.
Yeah,
Put that all over Lew's desk and whatever.
for sure. Can I ask how many years have you been at the Prince Albert radio station, Lew?
I have been here 28 and a half years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when you moved, because you're originally from Saskatoon, when you moved to PA,
Yeah.
you went straight into radio? Is that the reason you were in?
No, I was already on the radio in Saskatoon, but I was doing overnight shift.
Oh.
Get to work at 10, get it ready for my show at midnight, do midnight to 6, go home, have breakfast or supper or whatever the hell you want to call it. Try to get some sleep. It was a weird shift, and there wasn't any movement going to be happening there in the near future. And but I was on the air in Saskatoon. Ooh, big deal, right? And they said, hey, I heard of an opening happening up in PA. It's going to be evenings and it's on CKBI. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that. So I applied and here I am.
So you had to play country. You had to play country music.
No, CKBI at the time was kind of an oldies kind of station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like there's a lot of 50s, 60s, 70s stuff. We call it AOR, and it doesn't mean album-oriented rock. It went all over the road because we played a little Celine Dion, a little Trisha Yearwood, and some Valdi. It was just the weirdest mix.
Wow.
But it worked, right? And they switched to country. Oh, geez. The 20th anniversary of them switching to country will be coming up next month.
And that's when you
I
were
did play country on CKBI for a little bit, and then I moved over to 101.
Right. Because
they worked cheap and they needed somebody in the morning.
Oh, okay. I thought it was because of the country music.
Because of the music.
Oh, well, when I found out the rock station was signing on, I was like, ooh, pick me.
Yeah, pick me.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there a band or a song maybe like to this day that you know if it's playing during that day where you're going to stop and listen to it in the booth, or are you just kind of like you've heard it all, you know it all, and it doesn't faze you anymore?
Well, it's kind of cool because with Beach, there's a whole lot of songs now that we're playing that haven't been on the radio in a long time. So it's kind of neat to hear those songs again. So I do find myself stopping more often than I used to. It's always the songs that don't come around too often. that I find myself stopping to listen to. Otherwise, you'd find it quite quiet in the studio. It's turned down quite a bit. When I'm not on the air, I'm actually on the computer. I'm either answering texts, posting stuff on social media, following a link, or getting a break ready to post onto social media so that we can talk about it, things like that. So it's not like you're sitting around twiddling your thumbs while the song's on. There's stuff happening.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So the volume's turned down for the most part. Every once in a while, though, you crank it up, and the neighbors, the other two stations, stick their head in the room. They're like, "Can you bring it down?"
You're like, "Nope,
no, sorry."
No.
And no, I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yes.
So, never apologize.
If there ever comes a time where they ask you to switch over to a hip hop / rap station.
That's a super hypothetical question. I don't know if I'm down with it enough.
I know you hate rap.
Yo, word to your mom kind of. Yeah, I don't know. Hip hop wouldn't really be my thing. I don't think they would see me in that position either.
No.
But would I do it? If they wanted me to do it, you do it, right? Because that's where you work. It's your job.
Right.
Yeah.
It goes back to before. It's like it's a money-making thing. How come they switched to beach? Well, it's what they chose.
Yep.
I'm still employed, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I still love what I do. I get to go and play music and have fun.
So, is it also beach radio in North Battleford?
No. It's 93.3 The Rock in North Battleford.
Huh. Are there more beach radios than just in PA?
Yes. There are 4 beach radios and several following the same format but have a different name.
Okay.
Patterson's is a big company. They got like 50 radio stations, right?
Yeah. So
rather than having to program every single station individually, they have genres, I get, or like Power 99 plays the newer kind of stuff, and all their stations that play that same kind of music are all programmed the same. The beach radio format, that's programmed the same. What they call that, the classic hits hub. Then there's the rock, and then the country. So the biggest formats, they're all in the same wavelength on all the Patterson stations.
Mm-hmm.
Streamlining.
Right.
Yeah. Cut costs.
Yeah, well, it's business, right?
Yeah.
I hope I'm not blowing anybody's bubble here going, well, that sucks. I thought radio was like that. Yeah, maybe it was 50 years ago, but even then they still had the playlists.
Yeah, we don't have any viewers, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, our views are low, right?
Your mom's not telling anybody. Okay, I got it.
No. That was actually when I did radio, I was just imagining it's just for myself because nobody listens anyway. So that's how I kind of shook the jitters, for the first few times being on the radio. It's like, ooh,
yeah.
It's like if a lot of people are listening, like
my dad gave me shit for swearing too much on the show. So I have to try and watch my mouth because my dad might be listening.
My very first time on the air, I said the F word. My very first time on the air. It was kind of quiet and underneath something else, but because I had to come on at midnight, the news came on, and right after that, I had to read the weather. And I'm at the board, and I'm shaking. My hands are shaking. I'm sweating. My knees are shaking. And I read the weather, and I hit the jingle, and then I forgot what I was supposed to do after that because that's all. I was so hyper focused on read the weather, and so I looked up at the guy that was training me, and I'm like, what the F do I do now? And he's like, stop. So and he starts pointing at the button. I'm like, got it. Okay. So the jingle finished playing. I turned my microphone off, pressed the button, played the song, and away we went. But it was like, oh, that's a great start. At least I got it out of the way early.
Oh, that is awesome.
And they still kept you.
I guess it didn't show up well enough that anybody spotted it. And it was midnight. So again, who was listening, right?
Oh, man.
That's why they always put the new guys on at midnight back in the day.
Yeah.
That's where you make all your screw-ups.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the best place to be because at least you go, oh, nobody heard that.
Yeah. This brings back memories for
when you were in the radio?
Yeah.
Okay, did you ever swear on air or do anything like that?
See, in Holland, that's a little different because we can say whatever the hell we want on the radio.
Yeah, I suppose. Hey,
And,
really?
Yep. So all this
I might have to move to Holland.
Yeah.
You could have been the next Howard Stern. You just didn't go far enough.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, in Holland, it's so normal. You can say, you can swear. You can literally, well, if you don't do it overboard, but if you use a swear word in a sentence, nobody cares.
Right.
And that's on national radio too.
Well, there is actually no law against swearing on the radio.
But
unless somebody
being Canadian, you want to be the nice guy.
Well, the thing is, you don't want to offend anybody that's listening, right? So if your company kind of frowns on it. So if you want to drop the F-bomb on the radio and no one complains about it, you're not going to get in trouble for it if the boss is okay with it.
Right.
I had a radio friend who was trying to explain how words are just words. And so he used the F-bomb on the air, on the morning show too. And he said, coming up, we're going to drop the F-bomb. And he made a big production out of it, paused for a moment, and just said it. And he goes, there, that's it. That's all there was to it. It was all planned and pre-organized with the boss, obviously.
Right.
And you can't get fined for it because there's no law against it. It's just kind of frowned upon.
Right. Well, and now with cancel culture and social media and everything, right? All it takes is one person to put out a stupid tweet, let's say, about, oh, Lew said the F word on beach radio, and then say goodbye to your career. You know what I mean? Or
that cancel culture. I'm not even going to get into that conversation because that's going to get me canceled.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We better tiptoe lightly there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think we're all on the same page on that one.
There's always like, I don't know, Mark and I have had that discussion a couple times too. Like, well, what if somebody says something because of what you said, like last week or whatever. And then of course I'm like, well, bring it on, like, oh, I don't care, whatever. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, I do. Cause like, I care about the show. I want it to last. I want it to go on. And plus our numbers aren't big enough for anyone because is going to give a shit anyway. Right? So bring it on. But yeah, no, I totally get it.
One thing people enjoy about podcasts is you can speak frankly and use whatever language you want. And I think as long as you don't go overboard on it, I don't think anybody even cares anymore.
Right. I agree too. And I think Mark and I, we're both, I mean, if anybody is a regular listener to the show, understand that Mark and I are both pretty open-minded. So we might have an opinion on something now, but we're open to listening to like the other side of it. And like, if you can change your mind on it, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not responsibly, but if you can change our minds, like in an appropriate way.
If you can debate it to the point that you can see the other side.
Right. Like a proper debate about it. Right. Like, that word's going to come to me. I can't think of it right now, but
people mess up this whole debate thing because they think they're debating with you, but all they're doing is saying you're wrong.
Yeah. Is an argument,
that's
right?
just trying to force their opinion.
Yeah. I'm okay with like Joel says, I have my opinion right now, but if you can make me see the other side of it, I could potentially change my mind.
Yeah. Right. Like I'm not stuck on this side. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And then there's always the agree to disagree part. And that's healthy too.
Yeah.
It's okay to agree to disagree because you can have different opinions and still be friends.
Yeah. Right? Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
Even in politics, you can vote for one party. I can vote for some. Well, I can't vote, but let's say I can
I don't
vote.
know, man.
Yeah. This call is done.
I might have to leave here.
Yeah. But yeah, let's
now. So you got to be careful what you say on the air too, because of course you don't want to offend anybody, but you're never going to be everybody's favorite. I've got people that hate my guts.
Good for them.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm, that they feel passionate enough to hate me. Fine. I sleep well at night. And
it's also, I think it's part of your job where you have to be a little provocative here and there. I mean, not to a point where you offend a person, but you want the interaction with your listeners, right? Because you want people to call in, right. You want people to text you. So if you just play your music and go with the flow and not say anything that is potentially left or right, then nobody's going to call in.
Right, like I have to have an opinion on things too because I'm a regular person. I'm careful on some opinions because it can be quite controversial. So you stay away from those kind of topics. But it's my job to elicit an emotional response. Were you angry? Were you happy? Were you sad? Were you pissed off? Hey, I did my job.
Yeah.
Let's do it again tomorrow, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's usually when I'm driving. So if I text you, it's usually voice to text. And if I go through the trouble of voice to text you, then you're onto something, because I usually don't go out of my way to give my opinion on something. Like if it's something like, I'm like, whatever.
Does Mark text you?
So what would it take to get you to phone me? Because everybody texts now. Like back in the day, people used to phone the radio station all the time.
Yeah.
And you'd get to chat with them and put them on the air. People, I don't know if they're in too big a hurry or they're just shy or what. Like, what would it take to get you to not text me, to not put it up on Facebook, but to actually pick up the phone and call and say, I want to talk about this and have a conversation. And I know that it might get put on the air later.
I'd say probably a good cell service.
Yeah.
How about a cell tower in Bellevue?
I actually thought about that this afternoon, because on my drive home, I was listening to a Dutch radio station, and they have phone calls like almost every other song, and I mean, their demographic is a little bit bigger because they're a national radio station, but they have like your Beach Radio app has the voice memo thing.
Yeah.
Is anyone using that? Because I never hear.
The ones that you like, it's got to be something worth putting on the air. A lot of them are just hi from wherever, they might be, hi, I'm listening in Belgium. Cool. Right. If we can put that on the air, then we play. Or it's just hey, what song was that you played at 10 o'clock yesterday morning?
Yeah.
Things like that. So if it's a good one, we'll put it on.
Okay, so how do you get people to call you?
Like I was wondering, like, what would it take? What does it take? Or do people not call anymore?
Well, people like free stuff.
Well, I don't want to have to bribe people to call me. Again, right? We don't have a lot of free stuff. So let's go down that tangent for just a second.
Could be something as simple.
Sorry, you cut out there.
Are we there?
Yeah. Okay, we're back.
Okay, ask it again.
So it people like free stuff. So what if it was something as simple as like, a Tim Hortons coffee and 10 Timbits or some shit like that, like 20 Timbits.
I just want you to call me because you're interested in the conversation.
Right.
I want to hear your opinion on things.
So what I notice is that when somebody does call in the car, they're usually very hard to understand. Like the person calling in. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the phone line or whatever, but maybe that's holding people back.
Don't want to get a ticket because they're on the road.
Well, if you have Bluetooth.
A lot of people got Bluetooth. I find people in PA, they only call in when there's something free. They're willing to spout their opinion on text or Facebook or whatever, but they only call in when there's something to be won. And I'd love for people to actually call in and chat. Let's do it old school,
Okay.
Sounds better on the radio too, because then you got different voices, just rather than just me.
So on Thursday, whatever your subject is, because around 20 after 7 or 8:30, you have
20 after every hour, yeah.
Yeah, I'll call you whatever it is Thursday.
Sure.
I'm not driving.
And then I'll call after to go the opposite opinion of whatever Mark just said. Yeah. I'll call to say the opposite of it.
Yeah, that guy that was on before. Yeah, screw that guy because I don't like what he's saying.
Yeah. That Mark dude, he's wrong.
Yeah, what does he know? His numbers on YouTube are low anyway.
But you're talking about free stuff. Just here's something else to maybe clarify. Radio stations don't have a ton of free stuff, not all the time, and not your smaller radio stations, because we don't have the big budgets of like Calgary or Vancouver. because people are always like, hey, can you give me a free shirt or a free hat or whatever? Like, I would like a free shirt or a free hat. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So
concert tickets, hey?
When we do
free
it,
concert tickets.
What's that?
Here, and I don't.
You know what they do? They don't do concert tickets anymore because you guys are familiar with the way concerts work these days. The promoter gets paid no matter what. Back in the day, they got paid on the amount of butts in the seats. So if you had a 10,000 seat arena and only 5,000 people came, that's the only money they were making. You get a 10,000 seat arena now, they get paid for 10,000 seats, even if they're all empty. They still get paid. That's why there's no free concert tickets like there used to be anymore. They don't need to.
Huh.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't know that? I thought you guys would be familiar being around concerts and stuff like that.
No,
Promoters get paid.
Well, yeah, I knew that, but
There's no risk anymore.
No, exactly. Which is great for the promoters.
Right.
But that's
especially in PA. What's that?
So does the band get paid on how many seats then? If the promoter's getting paid no matter what, does the band get paid no matter what too?
The band gets paid. Band gets paid. But it's sweaty for the promoter because he wants to make the most. Like in PA, people don't buy tickets for stuff in advance, and I hate that. It's like, why aren't you buying tickets? Well, something else might be happening on that night. Yeah. It's a Thursday in PA. What else is going on but so-and-so at the Rollinson Center? Go get your tickets. When they go on sale, get your tickets. Well, maybe I'll go see them in Saskatoon. That makes no sense to drive all the way to Saskatoon to see a show so you can drive back.
Right. And you would think that would have changed now because of COVID, right? So it's like, you might not have that opportunity again. Like, just get it now. I agree with you 100%. Like, did you get your weapons tickets for the Rollinson Center yet? You didn't, did you?
They're coming to the Rollinson Center?
Well, yeah. Remember, I bought my tickets like 3 weeks ago and I posted it on Instagram and you were like, so we're going? And I'm like, yeah, if you buy your ticket.
Is that part of the drive-in series that they got?
You betcha. Weapons are playing September 5th, I want to say. I got my tickets for sure.
Huh. I should probably look at that again.
Or actually, wait a second. It is the drive-in thing. So if you cram in my vehicle, you can come.
And you pay for the tickets. Great.
Well, you're going to pay me half.
Oh.
I'll split it with you.
Yeah, he's going to charge you twice the price.
That's right.
There's a family rate. Charge you twice.
Right.
Yeah. I had something in mind to say. It was pretty smart, but
about not pre-sale tickets, but
about
buying tickets for
pre-sale. Yeah. Like Joel and I were both on the rec board here in Bellevue, and whenever we organized anything, it didn't really matter if it was like music or anything that you could buy tickets for in advance. The tickets would always be bought at the door, even if the pre-sale was cheaper. Because
because everybody's waiting to see if something else is going to come up.
Yeah, why? Just plan for it.
Yeah.
And it's just this area. Like in Saskatoon, tickets go on sale, advance tickets go on sale tomorrow. Bang, and people are buying tickets. Here they're like, well, I don't know. And promoters hate that. And that's, I try to get that across to people. The promoters get scared because no one's come. They're not, how come we're not selling tickets? So you wonder why no live bands come around or big acts come around, because people aren't buying tickets in advance. They want to see that there's an interest, and they want to see that people are going to come, not on the night before or at the door buy tickets and have them worrying right up until the time the curtain drops, right?
For sure. That makes all the sense. That's like booking a hotel room in August, hey?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm throwing Mark under the bus here. So
yeah.
But if you don't support live music, it's not coming, basically, is what's happening.
Yeah.
Because people complain, Pew never gets any good bands. We would, but nobody buys tickets in advance. Promoters shy away. And that's the simplest explanation.
And you know what? That totally answers the question. Like, I've had that in my head. Like, why does Saskatoon get bigger bands? Like, why can't, not that we haven't had big bands in Prince Albert, but just not as frequent, right? And like, why can't we do it?
You got to remember, we're a little bit off the beaten path too. Like, for them to detour up here, because they're going to do a show in Saskatoon, they're going to come do a show here. They got to be able to make their money coming here when they know that people might just drive down the highway to Saskatoon.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And if they're touring from Winnipeg to Edmonton, it's a logical stop in Saskatoon and keep going.
Right. Battleford gets lots of cool shows because they're on the highway.
Yeah.
Because of location.
Kind of a downside of being off the beaten path.
You're telling us. We're in Bellevue.
Yeah.
Great peas and lentils out there here.
Yeah,
yep,
you bet.
That's for sure.
We've been trying to figure out like the Moosefest.
Yes.
And if it's logical to do it in Bellevue here, or if we'd be better off doing it in like Prince Albert.
Right. But if we're going that direction, then it would make more sense to go to Saskatoon.
To just do it in Saskatoon. Yeah, for sure.
Because we're not going to event, people come to the middle of nowhere. You look at places like Minnedosa, Manitoba, it's like they have that gigantic rock fest. People come. Craven, like in a mud pit, people come every year and they know it's going to suck for weather and mud and stuff like that, and they still show up. It takes something little to grow into something big, right?
Yep.
And if you put it in Bellevue, it keeps your costs down.
Definitely.
Yeah, because probably a lot cheaper to rent the rec center there, or the stadium, outdoor stadium at the fairgrounds there.
Yeah, I think how much would it cost for the ball diamond there?
That's pushing it. Stadium?
Yeah, stadium.
We don't even have a skating rink.
You mean like the freaking cement pad in the sports ground?
Yeah.
Well, you got a place to put the band, right?
That's right.
People get mad when they hear that Saskatoon's got all these different bands at their Saskatoon X. It's like, again, it's like, how big is the population of Saskatoon? How big is the budget of the Saskatoon X compared to the one at the PAX? This is why you don't get huge bands playing in PA. Again, you might, but people got to buy tickets.
Yep.
Right.
It's business. It makes sense.
Comes back down to that again, doesn't it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. We've come full circle.
Damn. Everything revolves around money. Well, we knew that already.
So we've been trying to cook up another idea here. With a radio show. Maybe you can give us some pointers on it. So, you know,
you already know that he doesn't want to do anything outside of
what he's doing.
Yeah.
So Mark wanted to ask you if you wanted to maybe do a guest spot on our radio show.
Yeah,
maybe
that was your idea.
So I'll toss you the idea.
Be on?
Well, that's just it. I don't know. Did you figure out what platform we want to release that on?
No, we should put a pilot episode together first.
Right. So I'll give you the concept of what we did was we did a call out to like some indie groups and stuff. You know, if they wanted to get their music played on air, they could submit their songs, which you still can do for those of you listening.
Mom.
Yeah, Dad. But so we've got a collection of like I think we've got about 16 songs right now, and somewhere's around there. And basically the concept is to just like slap them together. It's going to be like play a song, do a quick little intro or outro of it, and just dive right into the next one. So basically, call it a half-hour episode where there will be like 8 or 10 songs. At the halfway mark, there might be one quick little ad for Funky Moose Records, like maybe 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and then dive into it. Now, out of those 8 or 10 songs, we'll do a poll out so people can vote on which one of those was their favorite song, so that the following week it would be like defending its title, right? So let's say we had a track from Weapons is the one that wins. So then the next episode, we've got 7 new songs plus that one from the week before. You know what I mean? Kind of like, defending its title kind of thing, and see how long it can.
So why do you have to have an online radio station to do that? Why don't you just make it as another one of your podcasts?
Well, it's kind of the idea. We just haven't decided on where to release it. Like, we wouldn't be able to release it on YouTube because of like copyright and stuff like that. We would be flagged immediately on how they distribute their songs. So I think that's like one of the key things.
It will be sort of a podcast. We're not quite sure on how to distribute it yet.
You'd probably end up having to buy some sort of licensing rights in order to pull it off.
Unless we get it directly from the band, because the bands are usually not signed.
Right.
So they just send it.
If that's what you do, then yeah, you'd be okay, except for on YouTube, because they don't recognize that. They don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Mark wanted to ask if you wanted to do a little part in there, maybe. Maybe you could do the Funky Moose ad at the halfway point.
Yeah.
We'll talk. How's that? That's the best I could do for you. We'll talk. Have your people call my people.
I expected you to say, well, it is business, so how much are you going to pay me?
Yeah.
That's
what he's saying. We'll talk off air.
But
we'll talk, yeah.
Now that you were talking about this, I wanted to ask you, maybe you know this. So when I was kind of playing around with our pilot episode, I put me introducing the song over the intro of the song, right up to the point where they start singing, and then the song continues, much like what you do on the radio.
And I told Mark not to do that. I told him to play the song and it's full.
So where does that come from, where the DJ talks over the intro? Is that from way back when, to prevent people from recording the song on a cassette?
No, that was just, I want to say 1968. And there was a radio station in Windsor, Ontario, believe it or not, that started that kind of format. They're called CKLW, and they kind of changed the way radio was played. So here's this Canadian radio station on the border with the States, with Detroit on the other side of the river, right? So they're competing against Detroit radio stations. And so they had to come up with a new way of getting people to come to their radio station. So what they did was everything was planned out like super tight. So there was no stop. Like it was like a juggernaut. The music just kept going, and the announcers were all like super pumped and talked over the intro. They were called before that they were called boss jocks. I don't know if you ever. Hey, you're listening to WABC, like whatever. Yeah. And so these guys were kind of a continuation of that. They just talked over the intro of the music just to keep the energy going, and so there was never any stopping. And it was never done before, and then everybody started going in that direction. And then in the 70s, because they were doing that, they never said, "Oh, hey, that was such a song by so and so." So you went through the entire 70s going, "What was that song? Who sings it? I know the song, but I don't know who sings it," because they only talked about the next song, the next song, the next song. And if you only have 5 seconds of intro time before you run out of time, you're like, name, call letters, and let's go with The Who and My Generation. Bang, and away you are, right?
Wow.
Huh. I did not expect
in
that.
radio, it's called hitting the post, by the way, when you can talk over the intro and then you stop just as they start singing. It's a little personal pride thing for all the announcers. And they're like, yeah, I'm good. Nobody notices, but we do.
But is there a trick to that? Because I know we had a trick for that.
All songs are timed. I know exactly how long the intro is.
You know that personally?
Oh yeah, like even before we were computers, we had carts. They looked like 8 tracks.
Yes.
And there was a label on the cart, and it said Hotel California, Eagles, minute 67 intro, fade end, and then it also said 6 minutes and 28 seconds long. Things like that. So you knew you had you could talk for up to a minute. You didn't want to. Nobody wants you to talk over the Eagles, but
yeah.
Just a quick 15-second intro before they start singing. So there's an actual timer. When you press back in the day, when you pressed the song to start, the timer would start going.
Yeah.
And you could watch along with the timer and blah, blah, blah. And here's whatever on the station, bang, and they start singing.
Okay. Because our music computer did that. It had a bar, and it went smaller and smaller until they started singing. And that was for every song. So it was fairly easy to just fill,
10 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Just make sure you keep talking until that bar is done, and then off you go.
Well, if you ever see any of the pictures from the control room, there's the one computer over my shoulder that has all the different colored buttons on it. That's the on-air computer. The top left corner, you'll see the timer.
Okay.
And it's got the timer counting down the song. Well, first it starts counting down the intro, and then when the intro's up, it starts counting down the time left in the song.
Yeah.
Right above that is the actual time, and right beside that is the time to the end of the hour, so that you know if you're timing things out or not. You don't even have to think about it anymore.
I also noticed that you have a lot of beach radio stickers everywhere, like literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Remind yourself to not call it XFM.
Only did that one time. But no, because we take a lot of pictures in the controller now. They didn't used to do that before social media. There was no need to do that. So maybe you had a mic flash, maybe not. But now you're always taking pictures of what you're doing and stuff. And so it's your backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun because otherwise you're just in an empty room without any decorations. And that kind of sucks.
That's true.
So we gotta
like look at your background. You've got your moose up there and your records and stuff like that. It looks, it's cool. You need some background.
We got our liquid death here. We decided we're not going to get rid of the cans until we're out of liquid death too.
Yeah.
So this table's just eventually.
You need to contact the folks at Liquid Death and say, how would you like to sponsor a podcast?
Well, that's how we got these cans. So they're an unofficial sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not allowed to call them a sponsor.
But they're sending us some thirst quenchers here. So.
Yeah.
You ever try this stuff? It's legit, just water. But it's like
stop saying it's just water.
Not into energy drinks.
It's not.
It's water.
Jolt Cola was the thing back in the day when I was a kid.
Lou, it's water.
It's water.
It's in water.
Can. Yeah. The white can. This is like the black can is like carbonated water, and the white can is just water. But
why would you do that?
Well, it's so their whole motto is like, I mean, if you read the can, it's like the death to plastic, right? So it's something like 75% of aluminum since 1888 is still being reused to this day, right? Because when you recycle an aluminum can, you can do that forever and ever. Whereas plastic, you can't. You can only recycle it so many times, and then it ends up in the landfill. And then all the stuff that isn't getting recycled, that's in the landfill. Like they're a war on plastic bottles is what it is, right? So to clean up the environment.
Death to plastic.
So, and then they figure instead of like you've got, let's say Pepsi and Coke and all the soda drinks and stuff, it's all bad for you. None of that stuff is good for you. And here that's like, they're selling water, like water's good for you. There's electrolytes in here. And, it's like, it's actually healthy for you. So that's their whole thing, right? It's pretty funny. Their commercials are funny AF.
Yes.
If you check them out on YouTube.
Plus,
I've got a big jug in my kitchen in a cooler, and that works for me. Doesn't fit on a desk very well, though.
Is it a plastic jug?
Yes, but it's reusable.
Okay.
See, they take them back, right?
What if it's broken?
Then I lose money because there's a deposit. Be careful with your plastic water jugs.
Death to plastic.
Not just for holding air, this thing. I'm just looking at the time here. I gotta get going because I gotta go to bed.
All right, man. Yes, you've got an early morning, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I thank you for having me on your show here. It's like I said, first time I've ever been in a podcast, so I'll always remember you.
Lou, the door will always be open for you, man. Please promise you'll come back sometime and hang with us.
We'll have to do this again.
Right on, man. We'll let you go. Thank you.
I'll call you on the radio.
Thank you. Thank you, man. We'll talk again.
You bet.